The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. This is the United Podcast Network.
This is Africa Diaspora Connect.
Join us as we take the journey from the motherland to America.
We share our experiences and learn from them.
Here is our host, Kibathi Gaturu.
Welcome to Studio 21. This podcast is brought to you by Wazesha Real Estate. Our diaspora journey lurks in yet some murky waters. A form of entertainment gone bad. A money guzzler, home wrecker, health deterrent indicator. Easy on the tongue, a pungent smell, thoughts of a spring day. Wipes all your troubles away, if and only if consumed in moderation. Her name is alcohol. It's illegal and globally one of the top most abused forms of leisure out there. Some of us couldn't wait till we're legal just to get a whiff of it. A pandemic in and of itself. Alcoholism, more appropriately referred as alcohol use disorder, AUD, is broadly any drinking of alcohol that results in mental or physical health problems ranging anywhere from mild, imperceptible without special testing, to severe and grossly overt. This is a pandemic that has been plaguing us for a long time, folks, and today I have two brave souls, brothers of mine that I've known forever and a day. Coming in from Zoom Live from the sleepless part of Seattle, my brother, Russ Anto, Tony Kinyanjui, Hizu. Brother, welcome.
Thank you for having me, man. Thank you for having me.
All right, man. I know I missed the boat. Should have been a month ago. I know you'd be right here in Massachusetts, but I see you live and direct. And by the way, I love your tan, brother. I love your tan. Left next right here. Man, I've known this brother, man, since he was a toddler. I've known this cat forever and a day. Teddy Cariz, welcome, man. And we appreciate you for your bravery and coming up front. Teddy, man, welcome and good to see you. It's been a minute, brother.
Thank you.
It's been a minute, man. It's been a minute.
Appreciate it.
It's been a minute, man. So, man, you two have been collaborating for quite a while.
Right.
You've been doing stuff together and just getting the word out there. Both recovering alcoholics.
That's right.
And you have come clean with that.
That's right.
Very few of us have the audacity to even bring that to surface. I'll start with you, Ross. When did you ever hit rock bottom? What was rock bottom? When did you realize that something had to give?
Well, I hit rock bottom per se when I replay my tape, or when I recall the last time when I feel that I was just sick and tired of being sick and tired was 10 years ago, because the rock bottom 10 years ago was a little bit different than the rest. Because by that I mean this. Before that, I'd lose my job, I'd lose my car, but I never ended up homeless. So 10 years ago when I ended up homeless, that was when I realized now, this is it. You know what I'm saying? Like before it was rock bottom that I could get out of, I could easily crawl out of. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But this one here, the last time was had ended up with me losing everything, like from the wife, the job, the car, the apartment, and then homelessness.
Wow.
So 10 years ago was the first time that
the realization really set in, like, you know what, something's got to give.
Yeah, something's got to give.
Something's got to give. Teddy, man, what was your journey like? When did you hit that patch called rock bottom?
Rock bottom did not come easy for me, and you can attest to that. You were one of the champions of my recovery. I'm going to salute you for that.
Well, you're my brother, man.
Rock bottom took me about 10 years of chronic drinking. I had been comfortably surfing couches in people's houses. I was never per se homeless. Mm-hmm. I was never out on the streets, but everything had collapsed around me. So my rock bottom was, I just moved back to Worcester from Philly.
Okay.
And I'd burned out all the bridges. And I'd lost all the old good friends. And I'd lost all the old alcoholics. And I was back in a city I lived for 10 years. And I had to start afresh with no friends. And I had been to the hospital chronically so many times for drinking.
I
And when I
remember.
came back, I ran into a nurse
Yeah.
who knew me from the first day I landed in America.
Hmm.
And she saw me in the hospital and she goes, "What the hell's going on with you? I saw you came here the first day
Yeah.
when you landed in the States.
Hmm.
And now I've seen you in the hospital 3 times in a row.
Hmm.
And you can attest that you're the first person that ever took me to a rehab. You stashed me away and I salute you for that. But I was still very juvenile in my recovery that I never understood what that entailed. To me, I call that a spin dry. You took me there.
I
I
remember.
stayed for a week. I came back feeling myself, but I went back to drinking. So my rock bottom was when everything had burned out. I had no friends, I had no couches, I had nobody, and I could not look. I had no more energy to continue.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So at the
Yeah.
point, I had nowhere else to go, and I was not ready to be a homeless person on the streets.
Yeah.
I'm not built like that. I'm
Yeah.
not built for the streets.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I sought the help of a rehab,
Uh huh.
and the first rehab I went to
Uh huh.
did not take me in. They said you look good, but you see, we are damaged goods inside.
Understood.
You cannot see what a man is if you look at his exterior.
Hmm.
The exterior does not talk about what we are inside.
Understood.
And so at the point I went to Art Care.
Well.
Art Care didn't take me.
Hmm.
And I went to CHL in Worcester.
Hmm.
They didn't take me.
Why were they saying no? They said you look
I
good.
looked good. They said just stay dry. Just take care of yourself. Go home and don't drink.
Shit. Excuse me. Yeah.
So that was my rock bottom.
Man. Ilu, I mean, like how is there when do you know it's going overboard? You know, we start off like in my intro, it's a social thing, you know, and a lot of us growing up were like, you know what, when I grow up, I want to have my first Tusker, I want to have my first beer. When does it turn? When does it turn into from entertainment into this abyss of a far-reaching underling that's really gonna destroy you? When do you need to
When you
check
get
yourself?
kicked out of your first party,
When you first get kicked out of your first, I like that analogy. Yeah,
I
okay.
mean,
Yeah,
for real, like
yeah,
that's when you're like, maybe I'm overboard because
okay.
like I said,
Uh-huh.
I for my alcoholism, I think, was based truly on my personality. I mean, I think I had tend to have addictive tendencies, I
Hmm.
guess, for lack of a better explanation. So maybe like for you or for Teddy or for the other dude, they want to drink 4 beers and they are all set. See, for me, I'd have to drink the whole 12 pack.
Hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it gets there without you knowing. The progression comes with tolerance. What I mean by that is that with time, you start as socially being accepted. People can hang around with you, but
Yeah.
it gets to a point where you're no longer like functional in a sense where you can't go to that social party without having something before you get to the party.
Hmm.
People call it pre-gaming. You know
Pre-game.
what I'm saying?
Okay.
And when I say, but when you get kicked out of your first party, by that I mean, in a sense, like people no longer want to deal with you because now they have established that you have a problem.
And
You see
that's,
what I'm saying?
you know what, we make light of that, but that honestly, you hit the nail on the head on this one. You know what I'm saying? When you start getting
Mhm.
kicked out of your first party, there's something wrong with you. There's something that's not right. It's, you know what, you're disruptive. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's a great sign. Did you have a poison of choice? Is there something that really rocked your boat good? Is there anything that got into your system faster than anything else? Gave you that kick,
The hard liquor.
the hard
The
liquor?
hard liquor hits you quick. It sticks longer,
Yeah.
and it numbs everything match first, and it's cheaper, and
It's
it's
called
easier to
vitamin B.
conceal.
It's easier to
It's
conceal.
easier to conceal because if you have a half pint in your pocket, nobody can see. But the equivalent of a half pint is like 7 beers. Where you gonna stash 7 beers?
Damn, yeah.
You see?
Yeah, I remember you used to have this 151.
You see, there you go. I
Yeah.
was to, 80% wasn't good enough for me.
Damn, 151. 151, bro.
151 was no. That's when I knew I was really having a problem when I was doing a liter of vodka and wasn't touching me.
Man,
You
man,
see?
man. Is it genetic? Is this something in the family? Is this something? Do you have any family members? I mean, I'm probing here, but I'm just throwing this at you, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, predisposed, but not basically I read a quote somewhere the other day that made a lot of sense. There's two sons that grow up seeing their dad as an alcoholic, and one becomes an alcoholic and the other one doesn't. It's your perspective about the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's genetics per se. What I think is the early predisposal where you kind of you grow up seeing it as a norm. So by the time you're of age or by the time you can afford it, you tend to think subconsciously it's okay. You know what I'm saying? It's like pretty much it's like us here in the States, like the way maybe for lack of a better explanation, we have kids around and we put the drink the same place where we put the kids drink. They're going to grow up subconsciously tuned to knowing that when I get of age, I can drink that.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So for the most part, I think it's not genetics, because if it was genetics, then I wouldn't be able to separate myself from that. What they proverbially call the generational curse. I would not be able to have gotten myself out of it. Neither could a lot of people. But I believe it's not genetic at all.
Yeah, I know you better, and I know your family.
That's right.
We're family. I know that. Can you talk about your? Yeah.
Well, see, basically for me, I wouldn't say alcoholism is based on genetics. It's more of a lifestyle. And as you know my old man, and you know my whole family.
Yeah.
I grew up around bars and everybody drinking from the grandparents, and it was a socially acceptable tradition in our whole clan.
Absolutely.
And I, as far as I can go, and maybe since I was like 5 or 6 years old, it was normal for me to have a glass of beer with my old man. Late in the night, we'd chill. He'd be like, my mom's going to bed, the house helper's going to bed, and he'd be, get a glass.
Yeah.
And I'd have a white cup, and it was normal for me since I was like 6 to have a glass of white cup. It was normal.
Wow.
My old man was called Crazy Eddie.
I know Crazy Eddie. I know the brother. Rest in peace, man. I know the brother. Yeah.
So for me, it was a lifestyle, and I grew up around the bar and drinking, and then it became part of my life. That in high school, I was a go-to guy for booze. Anybody that wanted to get drunk, I was a connect.
Teddy was the connect.
Teddy was a connect. You see?
Wow. AA meetings. Do they work? Are they of value, or is it you're there because you've been forced to go there maybe by the law, or do they work versus counseling? What would you take, brother? DJ? What's your take on that?
What was the question again? I'm sorry.
AA meetings, okay? Going to an AA meeting, all right? Do they work, and do they work? Because a lot of times, a lot of folks who get sent to an AA meeting is because you're facing a judge for a lot of times, all right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so you're forced to go into that. But walk us through that. AA, counseling, what works, and, what's your take on
that? AA saved my life. I'll say that much. It works if you want it to work.
Yeah.
When you're ready for it to work. It works at the right time when someone, AA works in the sense that is when you're ready, when you've been to hell, what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you're ready to get out. Any door that opens, right? And makes sense and gives you that whole, for the most part, when you get out of that haze or cloudiness of everything, and then the only one thing that you can relate to makes sense. I don't know what I'm,
and also mentally you were there. You mentally you're there. You want
mentally
you're there.
Exactly.
You want to get out of this. You know what I'm saying?
You want to get out of there.
Yeah.
So I think it works when you're mentally ready for it to work.
Yes, the acceptance is already there. Like there's something wrong with me.
I beg to differ on that.
Okay.
So to me, alcoholism and drinking is a learned behavior.
Okay.
All right. You never would wake up and just pick up a cigar unless somebody gets you a cigar.
That's right.
All right.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was learning, seeing the older folks pick up a bottle, tilt it halfway, pour it.
Yeah.
So the same thing comes with recovery.
Okay.
For me, I tried everything in the book to stop, but it didn't work. So what worked for me specifically, and what I learned, because I'm one of those difficult people in life.
Tell me something I don't know.
So you know everything else that I had tried didn't work.
Yeah.
But what really worked for me was I had to learn to unlearn. What I mean by this is this. You could send somebody to 1,000 AM meetings, but it might not stick. It's like playing darts.
Yeah.
Hitting the bullseye is a luck. Right? It's lucky. You have to be lucky.
Yeah.
For me, I had to go to rehab.
Yeah.
And that's why I embrace rehab with all my heart, because the only time you seclude yourself from everything around you is when you go to deal with people with the same problem that you have. And so along the way, I didn't know what I was seeking. I knew I wanted to stop drinking.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what I was seeking beyond the recovery.
Hold that thought. We got to pay some bills here. This podcast is brought to you by Wezesha Real Estate, currently developing in Malindi at Zani City Gardens. Malindi, one of the key getaways on the east coast of Africa. Floating blocks from 1, 2, 5, 10, and 50 acres. Only 30 minutes from Malindi Airport. Sitting on well-drained red soil. Competitive, affordable prices. Reach out to your local agent, Mike, at 603-557-2513. All powered by Wezesha Real Estate. It's going to be right here. So my producer's going to put right there, the website and everything. So listen, so it does work. AA meetings works, rehab works. And that's a key thing to hear that. Because I had this bad notion about rehab. I used to hear stories about rehab where there are more drugs being sold in rehab than on the streets. I've had this kind of fabrication. I don't know how true that is. It depends on the facility, I guess. But I've heard behind the scenes there's stuff that goes on at some of these centers. You know what I mean?
I'm going to tell you this about rehabs. If you go to Malibu, kind of those posh lifestyle, those are spin dries. You really need to go to a rehab that caters to people who have the same problem as you.
Understood.
If you live in Beverly Hills, you do Beverly Hills kind of recovery.
That's right. You live in Worcester, you go AdCare.
You go to AdCare, you go to CHL, you do programs that really cater to your needs and to the people around you.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say that rehabs have drugs being sold there, because I'm a manager of one of the houses still.
Okay. So
and people get tested every day.
So that's fabrication. That's all.
It's fabrication. It's not true.
All right. Good to know that. Let's talk about the people in your life. Let's talk about your moms. Let's talk about people who are close in your life who hurt as they see you dwindle into this abyss. And you can see it in their eye. You can see the tears. You can feel their pain. How does that resonate with you? And what does that do to your psyche? I'll start with you, Guido.
You know, at that point in time, man, you really don't know.
You don't know?
You're in this haze, you're in this cloud. Think of this.
Okay.
Think of alcoholism as this. As you driving down a hill and then losing all brakes, right? And that car ain't stopping. So your family is just watching the car pass them by. Wow. You know, so the only way, like for you know, like Teddy said, you know, there's different strokes for different folk. You know what I mean? Like in my case, mine was bad. Like the only way I ever thought of myself ever seeing my mom again was in a casket. You see what I'm saying? Because it had gotten really bad for me. You know, at that point in time, you're really nonchalant and don't really realize what you do to them. You know, because you're in sort of in this world in your own where you don't know what pain and cause you're doing to the rest until when you hit that rock and the car stops. And then they come and get you out of that mess, and they show you all the things that you've hit on your downward spiral. You know, they show you, oh, this is what you hit on your way down. This is what you killed. This is, you see what I'm saying? Wow. But like I said, it's a disease of helplessness to an extent that, you know, you're helpless about it, and your family is also helpless to help you. You know, so it's this whole mess. You know, that, and it's for the most part, man, I'd say this much. For those people maybe that don't know they're doing it consciously, but the pain people caused by alcoholism is second to none, man. Yeah. Second to none, and the damage you do is second to none.
He talks about being numb. How about what's that for you, for your family, your moms, especially your moms?
The reason I'm here today is because of my mother only, and nobody else. I gave up on life so many times, but then the thought of looking at my mother looking at me in a casket would stop me from pushing it to the next level. I've been close to death too many times, you know that. So many times I've chugged a liter and a half of 151, hoping I wouldn't wake up.
Like you were just.
I was done. I was fed up. I was exhausted because I couldn't get this monkey off my back.
Yeah.
But then I remembered that I had a mother who would never be at peace with my
Early demise.
That's right. And a mother's prayers
It's powerful.
are powerful. My mother prayed plenty of nights, so many nights all over this country, Vegas, California, Texas. I was in so many emergency rooms in different comas in different states from drinking. And she'd get a phone call from different nurses, and she didn't know what to do. Couple of thousand miles away in Africa.
Yeah, man.
So what I usually say about alcoholics is we load people into a train. We're like the conductor. We check you into the train, we shut the door, we start the train, and we let it on full blast roll down the tracks.
I love that.
And then everybody in this train, your mother, your father, your brother, your sisters, your friends,
Your children.
they don't know where they're headed to, your children.
Yeah.
And they don't know where they're headed to. You don't you don't care what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate that addiction is not willful misconduct. We are unaware of the pain we cause. We just think people are mad at us. They can't understand it. You can understand that we don't understand your pain. We don't ignore the pain, but we can't help it because we're addicts. We're sick. Alcoholism is a disease of the mind. You see?
Let's talk denial. Let's talk denial. I know we've covered a lot of things here. Russ, denial. Let's talk that denial aspect. What would you say about denial?
Denial in sense of the community,
like I'm fine. Like, guys, listen, leave me alone. I'm okay, man. I'm okay. You're overreacting. You're overreacting. You know what? I still go get up. You know what? You're overreacting. Denial. Everyone's trying to tell, hey, man.
It's because community condones it. And by that, I mean this. We all know that the problem is real. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And you can smell or you can see someone that has a problem from a mile away. Mm-hmm. So in the real sense, charity begins at home.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So the number one, say where you're from or who your folks or your brothers and your sisters, number one, they don't want to accept that you have a problem. Mm-hmm. So you don't accept that you don't have a problem. So now it becomes this whole hushed thing that people don't talk about. So if people ain't talking about it, so how are you going to accept that you have a problem?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
It's not addressed.
So I believe denial is pretty much community kind of fused, where it's really, the community kind of gives it more power. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because you have a problem. Any alcoholic that it would say that they didn't know that they had a problem would be lying, because you have a problem. Yeah. When you wake up, like say throwing up blood, you know you have a problem. You can't deny it after that, that point. Yeah. When you're waking up maybe with no job, with no friends, with nothing, you have a problem. So you basically, but see what happens is, you have a problem, but no one is telling you that you have a problem. So,
but even if when they do tell you have a problem, you push back because you're in denial. It's your problem. I'm cool, man. Denial.
It's not even that. Yeah. Most of the times, if you look at successful business people or people who are well paid and clean in jobs and they're addicts and alcoholics, we don't call them that. We don't put it to their face because they're better than the person on the streets.
Okay.
You see?
Yeah.
So it becomes, again, a social situation. Where are you in life? You got a job, you're a doctor, you're a nurse, you're a lawyer.
You're functional.
You're functional alcoholic.
Yeah.
And so if people outside your realm don't associate with the addiction with you, you're not going to understand it. Yeah. If you're not getting kicked out because you're an important person wherever you go, you're not going to understand that you're a problem. And all your mistakes are covered. Oh, I was tired. I've been working. It was the whiskey. I'm exhausted. So people make excuses for you, and you learn to make excuses for yourself. Mm-hmm. And then based on that, on other aspects is people condone people with addiction, and they don't see it. If I'm an alcoholic, and then you crack a beer in front of me and let me crack a beer, you're perpetuating the problem.
What are your triggers? I'm glad. What are your triggers?
Right now,
Yeah, what are your triggers?
I don't have a single trigger.
None.
I have booze in my house, and I've been sober 8 years. But what happens is this. I'm gonna tell you something.
Yeah.
If you went into a ring right now with Mike Tyson and he whooped your ass,
I would kick his butt.
All right, if you kicked his butt, right?
In my dreams.
All right, in your dream.
Right.
If you went into a ring with Mike Tyson and he kicked your ass, all right?
Yeah.
You would not go back into that ring with him. You know why? Because you have a built-in memory of what he did to you.
Wow.
Now, for me, I'm not afraid of alcohol. I respect it because I know what it's capable of doing. I'm no longer afraid of it because I understand what it's capable of doing in my life.
Wow.
So I know I can't touch it. I know I can't play with it. I know I don't even do communion wine in church.
None.
Period. Nothing alcoholic.
None.
None.
How about you? Any triggers?
Triggers, a lot of them, man. I'm different strokes for different folks.
Okay, let me hear your angle. Let's hear about you, man.
Man, see, like Teddy, see, for you to get to a point where you're in the same house with liquor and as an alcoholic, man, that takes time. I just recently got there. I'm not even gonna lie.
So you're a DJ. You're a DJ. So you're in clubs. You're spinning. All right. There's alcohol oozing everywhere.
Yeah. So I mean, the principles that you've got to have instilled in you, man. You've got to remember your last day, and you've got to replay your tape of where you were. You know what? Like he's saying, you have to have respect for that thing, man. Because this is a thing that most people that even like come into the program of AA or the people that quit drinking, is that they forget that as soon as you quit drinking, your disease just didn't stand and, sit down. Your disease has been doing push-ups and press-ups and getting stronger by the day. So your disease is always there. Wow. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it takes a bad day, man. Let me tell you something. And I know Teddy can attest to this because me and him have had a lot of talks about this.
Wow.
There have been moments where friends have unknowingly driven me away from a liquor store because I had a bad day. I had a trigger. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You remember when you and I were talking last week, I told you, man, I think the triggers for me in Massachusetts were getting really, really, really big and enormous to a point where I felt like the best way to kind of like distance myself from them was to get away from them.
So that's one of the reasons. Is that one of the reasons you're in the West Coast?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because the triggers, triggers are people, places, and things.
Mm-hmm.
They're usually people, places, and things. They are things that you see every day. They remind you of something. They are people, places, and things, again, places you'd frequent maybe back in the day. So if those become to a point where they're getting to you, you know what I mean? And even with the network of sober people, with Teddy and all of them and everything, with the network of AA and everything, sometimes you go to bed by yourself, so you still have to face yourself. You see what I'm saying? Which is also one of the other bigger triggers. You see? So
you see, also on that aspect of triggers, you have to surround yourself with like-minded people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't call you your family.
Yeah.
I don't call a lot of family because we don't have much in common anymore. Mm-hmm. We'll talk about important
things. Because I have gray hair? What?
That too. But on a serious note, based on this, my friends, my most immediate phone calls on my phone are all sober people.
Yeah.
So if I have a trigger and I have an issue, I'm not going to call you because we're not floating on the same raft.
Got it.
If I call him, he's going to understand what I'm talking about.
Understood.
If I call the other couple of guys, they understand exactly what I'm dealing with as alcoholics.
You can relate.
They can relate to me 100%. For you, I will have to coax you into understanding and you'll not get 100% of it.
Understood. Does meditation help by way of prayer? Are you guys praying, guys? Does that help? Just praying?
Oh my goodness, man. This is a nothing but a spiritual program, man. You have to take that spiritual walk, man.
Yeah.
This is a program for people who have been to hell and back.
Understood.
Yeah.
Yeah, it helps. Meditate prayer.
It's not really meditation, it's spiritual. Okay. You have to understand that there's a power beyond you that carries you forward because you're incapable of carrying yourself. I haven't gotten here by myself. Mm-hmm. It's not the job, it's not the friends. It's my higher power, whatever it is, that gets me through every day. And when things get difficult, I go on my knees, I shut my eyes, I sit down, close my eyes, and I let that just carry me forward. I don't let anything now weigh on my shoulders. There's nothing that's beyond.
Teflon.
I just let it slide.
That's right.
I don't push it to the back of my mind anymore. I just
Teflon.
let it slide.
Yeah. Any words of wisdom for us functional guys out there who still like our whiskey and we dabble and we think we're all that in a bag of chips? Any words of wisdom? And be nice.
There's no functional, man. It's just a ticking bomb.
About to happen.
Yeah, and for lack of, you're one of the few people that, who really know my story before the glory.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know. We go back.
Yeah, so I mean, I'd want to say, I don't think there's anything like functional, because with time gets to a point where you can no longer be that functional, but you have to have it in order to function.
Wow. Any words of wisdom?
Seek counsel of those around you. Mm-hmm. Have intimate conversations. If you feel like you're sliding off, it's always good to have somebody fact check you and tell you, hey, this is getting out of control. Folks,
you're listening Africa Diaspora Connect. This topic, you're hearing this grown man talking about how it's humbled them, the journey that's taken through them hell, the valley of the shadow of death. This is no joke. We need to bring these matters up. Let's talk about them and let's do something about it. Let's stop pointing fingers. You know what I'm saying? Let's embrace the fact that it is a disease. It is a disease. Someone somewhere is suffering, folks. So you heard it here. And I'll end with this. God grant me the serenity to accept
the things I cannot change,
and the courage
to change the things I can,
and the wisdom
to know the difference.
Amen.
Thy will and not mine be done.
Yes, please be sure to like this episode, guys. Subscribe to the channel. This one hit to the core. Hit that bell, ding dong. Notify when that new episode is released. Questions,
pick up a phone,
comments,
call somebody if you're struggling.
Pick up a phone, yes. Call, listen to them, listen to us. And guess what? Tell us in the comments what you think about this. And we can have a part 2, part 3, part 4. This is real. Gido, Rasanto, much respect, man. Wagwan. All right.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're one ugly dude still. I love you, man. Teddy, easy, brother.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Thank you, man.
Thank you, brother.
All right, cheers, man. All right. All right.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.